everyone. Hello. I will have this extremely exciting topic of release models. I had the honor to start working with MySQL back in the 5.1 days, I think, at the end of the 5.1 cycle. And I have the honor to be working on the only release that never happened, 6.0. So that's my experience, and a lot of release discussions, how to do it, and over the years experimenting with various models, I guess. So this is the current one. So in 8.0 or in 5.7, we had this kind of stable release thing. So we produced the GA, and then it was only bug fixing, stable release, and back. Then people will kind of say, but we need more features more often. So they complained, or community complained about that. And then we tried in 8.0, we had releasing features. And then people complained about that because it's hard to do it with total stability. It's kind of incompatible to do both things at the same time. Simon doesn't agree, but this is my life, at least. Hard to do. Then now we have this new model, transition to where we have both, essentially. So we have long-term supported releases that are on bug fixing only and totally stable. And then we have innovation releases leading up that are also supported. So we had back in the days milestone releases, but I think at least Simon, you were unhappy that we didn't really support them in a good way, like upgrade-wise and other things. And now this is the plan to do, to support the innovation releases leading up to the next LTS. I will show you more about that. The key point here is that both innovation and LTS releases are production-grade quality, so they are supported in the sense that you can. Like your Oracle support contract support for both. So why use an innovation release? This is if you want to use the latest feature and you're kind of okay with handling it, so you probably need to do some additional things to, let's say we have removed a historical feature. That can be more complicated with downgrade, upgrade, cloning, and these sort of things. So if you are able to handle that, you will be able to use the latest releases. And we will also roll this out in the cloud. And I think in particular in the cloud it becomes important because we are rolling out a complete fleet of heat wave integrated things and stuff at a fairly rapid pace. Well, the LTS releases is kind of the stable release where you can do whatever upgrade, downgrade, cloning back and forth between the releases and are supported. So it's mainly security bug fixing, but then also other critical bug fixing. I will return to this a little bit later, but this is 8.0. And we started with the innovation release roughly April last year, 8.1, then produced 8.2, and now in January we released 8.3. So this is the latest here. And then you see from this that we blogged about half a year ago or perhaps earlier. So this is exactly the same drawing, nothing has changed in that sense. But you see the plan here is that 8.4, which comes in April, is the plan. 3 months after 8.3, is planned to be the first long-term supported release that will have this normal full cycle of 8 years support. And that is kind of the main feature of 8.4 to be a new long-term supported release. It will have some changes, but not a lot. There will be, for example, we are finalizing automatically updated histograms now, and that will be delivered. So that's one nice feature. So they will be maintained by the system itself. But it also will, we plan to do some default changes and some removals. So there will be some cleaning up and some default changes coming. So 8.0 will continue for, I think it's 2 more years, if I remember correctly.
April 26th.
Yes. But it's not kind of called, we don't call it an LTS because this first real one is this 8.4. It's been a transition with we are in a transition.
So short-term support, not long-term support.
This, I don't know how you want to measure it, but yeah, it's a transition. It's a transition thing, right? So when in a couple of years you should move to 8.4. The good news is that it should not be very problematic to move to 8.4. I would say. And then our plan is to continue this with 9.0, 9.1, 9.2, and so on, up to 9.7. So these are innovation, these gray boxes are innovation releases. And then produce the next long-term supported release called 9.7. That's the current plan. That's 2 years from now. From between these two blue. So the model is fairly simple, right? It's not and predictable. And I think people like predictable and simple.
Just not the version numbers.
Well,
You just put it 9.0.
yeah. So any complaints about version number, send an email to Kenny. I don't know. I have not been designing numbering here, but it's.
But it does make application management awareness of what is stable and not stable.
So there's no
ranges.
9.9.
So you mean that you should rename it 9 or when it's stable and then
Well, I mean,
something else?
The development version. Well, no, you don't do the development, but the innovation ones is 9.0, 1, 2, 3, 4. No, just the last issue. Because you never get a 9.0.2 in theory. So
Yeah, I guess we can have debates about this tonight or a couple of years. But anyway, it is what it is. I think people will get used to it, and it will not be a big deal.
but, yeah.
Once 8.4 has been released, how long are fixes going to be into 8.3? Like you're just cutting it.
We don't bug fix 8.4.
You have got the
So the bug fixes comes in 8.4, so you need to update the. So this is essentially a one of each of these gray boxes.
8.4 or one of the, depending on the time of the 9 of the innovation release. I mean, if you take innovation release 9.4.0, it will have some bug fixes that are in 8.0, in 8.4 also, right?
Yeah, bug fixes are generally also always in the latest. So trunk, or development trunk will move right up there, and the bugs goes there, and then they are backported to the relevant thing. So it's kind of implicit that they are always in the latest. It's more a question about how far back.
I know, but
Yeah.
to be sure that people understand.
Right. Okay, so we hope that this is addressing most of those that are complaining about too little features and not too many features. So it's kind of trying to find a middle way, solving both cases. Those a lot of production customers want real stability, and any features really creates more problem than happiness for those. But we now also will offer these innovation releases where you can actually be supported on using the latest feature. Yeah. This is just explaining, I think, what we already have said.
Geir,
Yeah.
I would like to, who is using innovation releases already, right?
That's the problem. That's the problem.
One? Yeah.
There were two. And me, too.
Yeah, but there will be different people interested in different things. I do think that, for example, in the cloud setting, together with Heatwave, they are heavily used. So it depends. This goes with all products, the model, except for connectors, which kind of have a little bit variation. You use the latest connector and it will work with everything. I'm not a connector expert, but this is how.
That's what I've been told.
Right.
Always use the next connector, whatever.
Right.
The shell, I think it's the same, and a couple of others.
Yeah. I think I also covered this. Are there any? I think it's better to just take questions about this. Is it unclear in any way?
The main thing, though, Geir, from what you're saying is that 8.4, the change is relatively small compared to 8.0 now. But I assume from what you're saying, 9.7, you're going to expect to have a much greater. You've got 2 years to do that. Number of changes in that, and presumably then the innovative releases will actually be much more interesting for people if they want to get features that hopefully will come out from that generation.
Right. Yes. So there will, I think there were fairly little time here, so it's not that much we're able to do. And then we started some project that hopefully will be ending up.
So that'll be big and interesting.
What will be the length of support of each LTS?
How long this blue line is?
Yeah.
8 years altogether.
8 years.
So it's list 5 plus 3. It's a standard Oracle support model.
So the innovation releases are supported as long as there is not a newer innovation release. So immediately the new version comes out, the previous one becomes unsupported.
Yeah, in the sense that if you have a problem with, let's say, 8.3,
You've got some
and the next opportunity for us to fix something is in 8.4, right? So
Okay.
If you find
that's a little bit like that today as well. We are only producing releases every third month, following this Oracle CPU dates. Sorry, I can take more questions about this. More?
Is it possible to downgrade and to keep on page minutes?
I will come downgrade in a minute, so we can do that. But this model is clear then, right? Yep, good. So deprecation and removal of features. So basic rule is that we will not remove anything in an LTS. So unless there is an earthquake or something, a special crisis of some sort. I don't think that will happen. I can't really foresee that scenario. So what you can say is that nothing will be removed. When you're on an LTS, you can safely upgrade to the latest maintenance release without getting surprises, no default changes, no nothing. So should be purely bug fixing. That's our plan.
Which means if something goes wrong in an LTS version, you can go back to, you can just swap the binaries in theory and things.
Yes, they will be compatible across all things, so you can clone, you can
Do everything out there.
everything back and forth on that line. Yes. Yeah. So when it comes to deprecation and removal, generally, is that the history of MySQL has been, or the standard has been, that we send out deprecation warning for things that we plan to remove, and then we, depending a little bit on how serious, big the change is, we let it pass a time before we do the actual removal at some later point of time. Sometimes it's been done fairly fast, but it's in the situation where we think nobody's affected. So there are cases of very ancient things that we are removing. But if we feel that it's dangerous, and for example, SQL semantical changes is very dangerous, so typically it takes 20 years before it, right, on these things, removal wise. Or at least we have an example that we have deprecated things long time ago and we never actually removed it. Right.
I think there's an asterisk very relevant. So we can remove things within an LTS as long as it's the first release of this LTS.
Yes, in the sense that if you now are on 8.3, for example, innovation release, there might happen removals in 8.4. But after that, there will not be any removal. So you're allowed to remove in the first transition. You see? Yeah. And removal is deprecation and removal is a science in its own because you never quite know. Sometimes nobody cares if you remove something because nobody's using it, and otherwise you kind of unexpectedly find that, oh wow, this is actually used, so it can be. I think that we need to be able, we should be better at perhaps see if we can communicate intentions, for example, in forums like this and blog posts and other things about this.
You don't have the one thing I notice is sometimes if you talk to people, I mean, it's also different topics, but if you talk, there isn't like a collection tool that says this is my config and things and can like anonymize it so there's nothing important in there, which potentially you could provide as a tool, maybe the shell can have it. So you say, this is the config on the server, you just go, and you can say, yes, these things are weird, you know, you need to be aware of those. Maybe, will you be providing some sort of tool for people moving to the next LTS to actually catch ahead of time those things that are...
At least it's an intention to continue use this update, this upgrade tool.
The upgrade check.
Upgrade checker.
Yeah.
Upgrade checker.
So that'll be something a lot of people have to use.
Right. Yeah. The upgrade checker did two things. One was it checked metadata and flagged that, okay, I see something here that I will not be gone in the next release, so that you have to fix it before you upgrade. We had some of that in 5.7 to 8.0. So it's very helpful to identify that you are actually using this thing. But it only works when you can detect it in the dictionary. There is some phrase, okay.
Yeah, the query is how to catch that.
Right, you can't really catch a SQL coming in this way. But then on top of that, I think that we implemented also that you could list all the removals by the tool. So it's an easy way to see, okay, these things were removed. So at least you have it on tooling way, which I hope we can. Behavioral changes, so a behavioral change is something that you try to avoid, but it can happen, right? Because also it can happen for valid reasons. I mean, there is an error. You fix it, it's a bad result, wrong result. You fix it, you get the correct result, you get the behavioral change, right? How dare you actually fixing, doing the right thing. So, kind of, you don't want behavioral changes, but sometimes you can't really avoid them either, because it's the only way to actually get the correct output is by a behavioral change. And in a certain sense, any bug fix is some sort of a behavioral change, but hopefully not really impacting anyone. But in some cases they can. So this is even in LTS. That is a difficult choice, and we need to take a kind of a case-by-case decision. Is this important enough to justify a behavioral change? And is that kind of behavioral change deliberate, kind of thing? But this is something that hopefully we can blog about and in general try to when things happen. Our intention is that the LTS should not be that, but in the innovation release series there can be more of these things. Therefore, also if you are on the innovation release, then you need to be kind of more reading more the release notes and be more active in general. I think there will be more help and blogs and anything when you go from one LTS to another one. There is more kind of momentum and communication and stuff. Well, it's hard to do that each time. Every 3 months you can put out something. Yeah. So in general, we are aware of these problems. We intend to do our best to notify, have tooling to options or opt-in, opt-out, and these sort of things. And we are discussing this internally with Luis, for example, a lot, and we are spending a significant time on discussing aspects of changes and what options should we have to reduce the impact or remove the impact on the user base and all things. So we spend a lot of energy on that. And I think we get it right most of the time, and occasionally we fail, and we're working to be better. Yeah. So upgrade and downgrade. So we already said that upgrade, downgrade with LTS, there are no patches in general, so you can do whatever you want. There are no restrictions. So you can do all these sort of things, and cloning. So this is within an LTS release, right? So that's the keyword here, within.
Will you allow cloning between LTS versions?
Yes. So upgrading and downgrade within, this is the one we have.
No, I meant between different LTS versions.
Right.
Within an LTS.
So that's the tricky part, I think. So upgrading and downgrading from one LTS. So this is the question that you asked. The answer is here. So you can always upgrade all the way. So to stick with upgrading first. I will have some examples at the end of what we plan to support and what we are not planning to support. And I know that, for example, we can do even more than we are planning to support, but we will see what we can do on. But upgrading should be, the only restriction we have about upgrade is that we will not support upgrading past an LTS. So
you go through LTSs.
Right, because there needs to be one place where we can cut the circle kind of thing. Otherwise it becomes never-ending story, impossible to deal with. So, but you can go from an LTS to the next LTS. You can go from any of the innovation releases to the next LTS. But you can't jump over the next LTS and into, for example, an innovation release after that. Right, so you kind of need to go through all the LTSs essentially over the years. But we don't see that as a big restriction really, and the frequency is every second year, and perhaps people upgrade much less. So I don't know. Yeah. So what we say today is that downgrade is in generally not supported between pure LTSs. But we intend to at least do what we can to support type of shell dump load scenario with shell. So the answer there is shell kind of thing, or dumping.
You do an efficient logical dump and a logical load into an old version and adjust something to adjust.
Right. And the main reason for this is that it's very hard to have a full overview of all the consequences of the effects. It's hard enough to do the upgrade. Starting to be able to guarantee the downgrade is almost impossible, or it will require a lot of effort, and we don't find it to be worth it. You can argue that, okay, you can do whatever I want and I take the responsibility, but for our customer calling in for support, they complain regardless of whether it's their fault or not, kind of thing. So we also feel like we need to help them to stay safe. So that's our current thinking here. And innovation releases, essentially, you can always upgrade. You can also jump an innovation release as long as you don't jump an LTS. And the downgrading is the same. Do you want to step in and say anything about replication scenarios here?
No, I mean, right, so I'm caught by surprise a little bit. But, so the idea is that you'll always be able to move forward, right? Just as we can upgrade from LTS 1 to LTS Series 1 to LTS Series 2, replication should also work that way too, right? It only makes sense. Like Geir was saying, doing some sort of downgrade, even if it's from LTS plus 2 to LTS or LTS 2 to LTS 1, downgrading via replication can probably work in a lot of situations as long as you follow some specific rules like rely on row-based replication. Make sure that you're not using new features from the LTS that don't exist in the LTS one. Remember, replication is mostly a messenger, right? So deliver stuff that was executed in LTS 2 to the LTS 1. If LTS 1 doesn't really know about what to do, how to handle this, then of course things will break, right? So there's some sort of best practices when it comes to downgrading that should be observed. But this is a complex problem space, right? So there's no guarantee that everything will ever work 100% here too, right? So that's it.
Yep.
I have a question about upgrading. Here you're talking about asynchronous replication. What about upgrading replication?
Right. That should work too, in terms of moving between LTS 1 to LTS 2, right? With respect to downgrade, within an LTS series, you should also be able to downgrade normally, right? So if you're in 8.4.3 and you don't really like it and you want to downgrade your cluster to 8.4.2, so from 8.4.3 to 8.4.2, that should work too. Up until recently you couldn't, right? Because, oh, I have a group with 8.0.33 and now I want to go back to 8.0.32, you can't. You couldn't. Right? You couldn't add a server to that cluster or had a lower version. But
we're running out of time, so any further questions?
Let me complicate 8.4.32 to 8.4.0. Is will be possible on
8.4.32 to 8.4.0.
Yes.
Should be possible. I mean, within the same LTS.
Right, regardless of numbers. Okay, I've got the sign. Yeah.
You were saying that the innovative releases have features. These features will all be available community, or are there also features which only are licensed?
Both. So at the current model, there is no change in that model. So there will be enterprise-only features, then there will be cloud community that is everywhere, and even cloud-only features. So there will now be both community, enterprise-only, and cloud-only features. And it all follows the same model, but that aspect has not changed.
Just a quick thing. So I mean, just with the replication, you said the GR. So if you're going from 8.0 to 8.4.2.9.7, you just do a rolling switch of the GR, and that should work. That's the idea. Right? We're using GR.
Yeah, I'm just running out of time here. We do it. I just say that I think I covered all I wanted to say, although there are a few slides. It's just examples here. You will have these slides available. It's just the same thing explained in your format. There is no additional information in this, but it kind of keep you thinking about, okay, what if I want to upgrade from 8? This is the upgrade support, and there is a similar for downgrade support. So it has some axes and some asterisks and stuff. So with that, I will. Do I have more minutes, or I'm done?
No, you wait. 1 minute.
Is there any final questions? It was nice to have a more kind of informal setting. I think we have covered all I wanted to say, and you had a lot of good questions that actually covered what I wanted to say. So
Thank you very much.
okay.